Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
Completely unbeknownst to me, we reached 600 episodes of the show last week, making today's show, episode 601, for May 29th, 2025. Couldn't have done it alone. Of course, joining me, as always, is the one, the only, the illustrious Mr. Marceau, joining us here today via the phone. You don't see him here, but he's always with us in spirit, over the phone, in transit at the moment. Mr. Marceau, brother, what's going on?
In spirit, I feel like I'm dead. I'm doing good. No, 601. That's can't believe you missed out on the big 600. You're a big anniversary guy. How do you miss out on that one?
I know. You know, the funny thing is, I was thinking about that the other day, and I should probably know this by now, but episode 600 of hashtag, which I go by the numbers of that one, so that one's kind of easier to keep track of. With WrestleRant Radio, I kind of notice it after the fact when I upload the show, and it says, oh, that was the 600th episode. I never noticed it ahead of time, and we had this exact same conversation, if you go back and listen to it, for 502 years ago. I did the exact same thing where I did not, and that's an even bigger milestone. And 600 is more episodes, but 500 is a much more even, solid, sexy number. And I didn't think I realized that until after the fact. So we had the same conversation 2 years ago too. So I'll do better for 700. But you know, we have a lot to get into here today. I got to give you props right out of the gate because we'll get into it a little bit later on with Double or Nothing review, reaction, that sort of stuff. But you reminded me before we went live here over the phone, you told me you got every single prediction right, including Hangman winning, which honestly was easily the most unpredictable match on the show. You technically said that you kind of figured that you thought Ospreay would win, but Tony Khan should go, or I'm sorry, you figured Tony Khan would go with Hangman, but you wanted Ospreay. So technically you got every single match right for someone who does not watch the product. That's pretty impressive.
If you could hear it right now, I'm giving myself a pat on the back. Like I said, I didn't get the. I guess I'm like 9 for 9, but like technically 9 for 10 because I didn't get enough time to give you my pick for the 6-man that was added last minute. But no, I'm proud of myself and just a little back pat on my shoulder right now.
Hey, that's a good way to start the Thursday, knowing that you're right with every single prediction. I still got a few wrong myself, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. Shout out to everyone joining us in the chat. I saw Pseudo Talks Wrestle there from, not now, but many hours ago, sending in the first comment of the video. Thank you for doing so. Nathaniel joining us saying, hi, how's it going? I enjoyed Lilo and Stitch yesterday. We just talked about that. We were legit just talking about that before we went live. Mr. Marceau has not seen it, but I had seen it last Friday with all the other 5- and 6-year-olds. I was definitely the oldest person in that theater. That was, especially without a kid, I was definitely the oldest person there. But listen, I've been in the trenches since day fucking one as a Lilo and Stitch fan, and I enjoyed the movie. I know Mr. Marceau will as well, but if you didn't, that's totally okay. But if you saw the movie and enjoyed it, that's even better. Fernando is here as well, saying Buenos Dias WrestleRant. What's going on? Eric Douglas talking about Jamie Hayter, saying Jamie's been so amazing. When is it going to be her turn? He asked. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Yeah, she did lose to, and I'll tell this story real quick as well. So last week at the end of the show, if you guys were here last week, or if you just go back and listen to it, Mr. Marceau and I, 2 weeks ago, we came up with the Rhea Maivia nickname, which was amazing. We were trying to come up with a nickname for Mercedes, and we just couldn't figure something out. We came up with, like, Mercedes McMahon. Alexis had said that as well. We're like, yeah, that's fine, but we could definitely do better than that. Because we had Becky Balea. We had, Adam Levesque. That's a good one for Adam Copeland. And then we had Rhea Maivia, and we were trying to come up with one for the former Sasha Banks. And I came up with something legit 10 minutes after the show ended. And it was Mercedes Moolah. And I'm thinking, that's great, but I want to put Mr. Marceau on the show, so I'll just save it for next week. I legit wrote it in my notes, and I have the proof here in front of me. It's his last Thursday. And then this son of a bitch, right after Double or Nothing on Sunday, texts me on Memorial Day, seeing that Mercedes won at the pay-per-view. And he goes, I saw, what did you say, Fabulous Monet?
The fabulous Monet won.
And I'm like, this son of a bitch got literally almost the exact same nickname that I did, and he beat me to it. You texted me first, so technically you got it before I did, which was amazing.
No, I mean, I was thinking about, I'm like, who's someone that didn't put people over? That's a woman. And literally instantly thought of Fabulous Moolah. And I was like, Mercedes Moolah, like it's like Monet, Moolah, it's similar. But then the Fabulous Monet to me just felt better.
That's perfect. I don't think we can ever go on this show and attempt to come up with a nickname without settling on something. And that was chef's kiss. When I saw you text me that killed me on Monday. That made my Memorial Day. I'm like, this guy, I mean, first you beat me to it, but second of all, you came up with pretty much the exact same thing that I was thinking. Because it's not even as if last Thursday, if you go back and check it out, it's not even as if we were on the train of like, it's got to be Fabulous Moolah, but we just can't come up with something. We weren't even thinking that. Like, you thought of that independently on your own, and so did I. And then you just came up with that on Monday. It was very funny, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. Micah also joining, saying, it's early. What's up, GSM? Micah, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining. Fernando saying, Mr. Marceau being the Nostradamus of wrestling. That is indeed right. He's usually more right than I am most of the time. Including with a product that he watches less than I do. He was still right with every single match on the show. Mike is saying, great minds think alike. That is indeed true. And Fernando said Mercedes winning on Sunday was the right decision. I actually disagree on that. I will talk about that later. I mean, it's not the worst decision of all time, but I just personally do not think it's necessary to have the TBS champion challenging your women's world champion at the biggest pay-per-view of the year when you could have the TBS championship defended in another match. I mean, Mr. Marceau and I were talking about this a few minutes ago, but, you know, for someone who was talking about, oh, yeah, Athena should be on the biggest show of the year in Texas, which is where she's from, she beat her pretty fucking quickly a couple months ago, and we haven't seen Athena on the show since. And you can blame Tony Khan for that, which you can, but at the end of the day, Mercedes did go over, and we have not seen Athena since. So the Mercedes Moolah, the Fabulous Monet, is at it again. And Noob also saying, how you doing today? Doing well, Noob. Thanks for joining as always. So listen up. WrestleRant Radio, new episodes every single Thursday here on the YouTube channel. Check out the video first before it even goes up in audio version here on the YouTube channel. But the audio version is also up eventually later on in the day on Thursdays at WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, all the usual major podcast platforms. Shout out to the channel members, Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dylan Giacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1 at Swerve1, WON on the IG. Daniel Malcolm, letter I, letter M, quarter on X. Mr. Marceau himself, follow him on Twitter at RJ_Marceau. John Ritland right here on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Ritland, Richie's channel. Check him out at Red Planet Wrestling here on YouTube. And last but not least, Average Grunt at The Average Grunt on X. More info on becoming a channel member down below, getting certain videos ad-free and early access to, getting shout-outs at the beginning and end of every live stream here on the channel. So much more, $5 a month. More information in the description box. At the very least, though, just like the video, subscribe. All that support is greatly appreciated. And hit the bell button to be notified every single time we go live and every single time new content is uploaded here on the channel. Eric also mentioned in the chat, actually, I forgot to ask you about this, Mr. Marceau, because you strike me as the sort of person that will eventually see this movie. They said they saw Mission Impossible 8. Are you seeing the Mission Impossible 8 movie by any chance?
I actually haven't seen any of them. I kind of want to get into them. They seem like good, like thrillers, action movies, but I actually have never seen any of them.
I'm not going to ridicule you for that fact, because honestly, I have not seen any of them either. I said that to someone a few days ago, and they were also very surprised by that, because they are like embedded in the American culture. I mean, I know the theme song. I know Tom Cruise is in the movies. I'm sure I've seen a scene from the movies. I have not seen any of them either, so that's actually a good point. But you strike me as a Tom Cruise fan. Maybe I'm just thinking of the one, God, what is it? Top Gun Maverick, obviously. They're making a third one, by the way, which I did not know.
Good, I can't wait. Okay, take my money.
Hey, they got to re-release the last one in theaters too. That one was great. You were on that train for a long time of like, you got to see this movie, and it took me a year to finally watch it. And when I did, I was like, damn, the guy was right. That movie was amazing.
You're welcome.
And that was, I think, the biggest Memorial Day weekend opening of all time until Lilo and Stitch came out this past weekend. So go see Mission Impossible, go see Top Gun Maverick, and go watch Lilo and Stitch. I actually enjoyed the movie for what it was. But I mentioned a couple moments ago as far as what happened as soon as the show was over last week. In addition to me trying to rack my brain on that stupid Fabulous Moolah, Mercedes Moolah, nickname, literally within minutes, as soon as I hit end stream last Thursday here on the show with Mr. Marceau, and you and I were texting about it. I was texting a whole bunch of people about it because it was the funniest fucking thing. I'm like, I wish I saw this while we were live. But then again, we would have been live for another 2 hours, so maybe it's for the best that I did not see it. But news broke that WWE is dumping New Orleans for WrestleMania 42. It's old news at this point, but it's worth bringing up because it's just the funniest fucking thing to me that this company made such a big deal about going back to New Orleans. For granted, the third time in 12 years. They were there when you went back in 2014 for 30. They went back only 4 years later for 38. An inferior show, but still, New Orleans is a great area for a wrestling show. I still have not been. Of all the places in the country that I have been to, that is one I have not been to, actually. And I was looking forward to that. But then I saw that not only were they dumping New Orleans for Mania next year, they're going right back, reportedly, to Las Vegas for WrestleMania 42. Largely because of the money factor. And again, they made a big deal about going to New Orleans. They had the fucking Rock announce it, but you could throw this into another announcement that the Rock has done where they pivoted. They pivoted from New Orleans right back to Las Vegas solely for the economic factor alone. And I'll get to my own thoughts in a moment, but I want to get to your reaction, Mr. Marceau. What were you thinking when you saw that? And is this for the better that already they're going right back to Las Vegas for the first time ever, the same city 2 years in a row, I believe?
Yeah, no, I'm actually glad that we didn't react right live in the air because I feel like it would have been a lot of gibberish and a lot of non-thoughtful things. So I'm glad that we waited because I feel like I could articulate it a little bit, digest it a little bit, kind of put my brain into it. So I'm glad we've had a week to kind of sit on this because we haven't really discussed it too much. I was originally surprised, but then I kind of thought about it a little bit more. They were the Super Bowl was going to be in New Orleans. Oh, WWE's going to this big announcement. They didn't do it there. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then closer to I'm pretty sure right for WrestleMania this year they announced it. I'm like, when they had media and all the people down in New Orleans, why didn't they just announce it that's what they did last year for Vegas? Super Bowl's in Vegas. They have the big media week leading the Super Bowl. They announce, next year WrestleMania is going to be in Vegas, and you have all the press there. They didn't do that this year. They said they were going to, but they didn't. So I'm like, it's kind of weird. And then obviously it came out that they switched, and then everyone's going straight to the money thing, which, yes, I totally understand. They made a shit ton of money. They'll most likely make a lot of money again. I mean, I think realistically, it sounds like they want to make Vegas kind of a home base for them technically for Mania, and obviously with UFC they do travel a little bit, but most of the bigger events are in Vegas. They're at T-Mobile Arena, so I see that. And then I kind of also thought about the bigger picture. So we're just thinking, oh my god, they're going back to Vegas because they make so much money. They're going to go back to Vegas again to make so much money. But then when I'm thinking about it, we've been to a few Manias ourselves, and I've done small event planning. I'm not at this stage. But do you know how much easier it is to probably host an event in Vegas with all the extracurriculars they do than going to New Orleans? Or we were in New York. Guess what? They had one thing in Brooklyn. They had one thing in downtown New York. They had one thing in New Jersey. Kind of all over the place. When it comes to Vegas, everything's walking distance. Everything seemed to be centralized from what you said. I mean, everything was they had their little home base. I think it was at the Fontainebleau in Vegas. They had other things on the Strip. You could then walk to the arena. When we went to Orlando, it was oh, you want to go to WWE Access? Well, you got to go to Timbuktu, Orlando, and then the stadium's over here. Oh, you want to go to meet and greets? It's on this other side of Orlando. It's all over the place. And at least with Vegas, everything does seem centralized. So for them, I think it's probably easier, which it's easier for the talent. It's easier for the accessibility, it seems like. And two, it's if they already have a good report, running an event in the same kind of area with the same people, it's just a lot easier when you're planning an event. When you're going around different cities, you could run into different hiccups. And like I said, the centralization of all the activations is just a lot harder. For us, for New Jersey, when we went to WrestleMania, I thought Like, we were all over the place. I didn't even have a car, but it just, I don't know. Like, I just feel like with Vegas, yes, they're going more for the money because obviously they're going to make a shit ton of money. But two, I think like the whole encompass of it is just a lot easier because everything is centralized. Do I want them to go there every year? No. But like if they went like every like 5 years, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But if it's like 1 year, so if they do like next year Vegas and then they go to like 1 or 2 places and go right back to Vegas, it'd seem a little early. Like I think every 5 years would be more appropriate, but I mean, yeah. But I think, like I said, I think the money is a big factor. But like I said, just like the small event planning I have, it does help when everything is like close. Like when you switch things up and you're going all around the place, it's not as consumer friendly. Because we've been in, like you're Ubering all over the place, traffic's a mess. At least with Vegas, you could technically walk.
I mean, legitimately, that was the first thing I thought of, having just been there last month. And I mean, we've been there for other shows. We were there for Double or Nothing, you know, the first one 6 years ago. I was there for SummerSlam. That was during COVID, so there really wasn't a whole lot going on. But when we went to Double or Nothing, though, we stayed at the New York. The show was at. Well, did you stay? You were the one that booked that hotel. Did you do that knowing that the MGM Grand, which is where Double or Nothing was, did you do that knowing it was right across that fucking bridge, or was that just a coincidence?
No, I knew it was nearby. I knew we could walk there.
There you go. So, I mean, a lot of people are probably thinking the same thing. Now, obviously, Mania is not at the MGM Grand. It's at Allegiant.
Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, but did you? No, you haven't gone to Allegiant, right? You've just been there. You've been to Vegas for plenty of other stuff, but you haven't gone to like a fucking Raiders game, right, or anything like that.
I have not. No. I've seen where it is. So like I've seen that you can like walk there from the Strip.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Especially when they close down the roads and stuff, which they've done the last few times that I've been. It honestly is not far, even depending on where you are. I mean, I was closer last time. So this past time, I did have to take a taxi from a different hotel to get to where I was staying this past time. But otherwise, I mean, it's not terrible, honestly. And you make a great point. Like, that is my biggest thing at this point. When we went to Mania 35 and had to drive all around Brooklyn, Orlando was bad too. And I mean, I was an idiot. I'm sitting in fucking hour and a half of traffic. I mean, I wasn't even that far from the stadium, but that stadium was a dump too. Allegiant's really nice. It's not a far walk from the regular Strip. And the Fontainebleau was a few miles down the road. That was the home base, like you said, for most of the events and whatnot. The Hall of Fame, among other shit. The convention centers where they had, you know, WWE World or Access, whatever you want to call it. And some of this stuff you do have to take a taxi to, but it's like fucking $10 and it's right down the road. You're not spending $30 to travel to a different city in the same state, which I guarantee you is what's going to happen with SummerSlam later on this year. Because you mentioned New York, New Jersey. That's where Mania was when we went back in 2019 for Mania. They're doing SummerSlam there later this year, and I'm not looking forward to that. I look forward to it because it's close and I can just drive there. But I do not look forward to going to the whole back and forth and all this other sort of nonsense. But it's a big money thing, and I think they just realize they can make more money off of it, and you make a great point. Don't go there every year, but, you know, the fact that, you know, they can go there every other year, I like that idea. But does it not stand out as just being fucking stupid that they made so much money from Vegas, and they're like, you know what, this works. Like, for event planning, it makes a lot of sense. They have their home base and all this other sort of stuff. But does it not stand out as stupid that they would go ahead and make this massive deal about New Orleans? It's not as if it was even rumored and then it didn't happen. They outright announced it, had a logo, probably put event packages on sale, all this other sort of shit. And then they just pivot. And they haven't said it's Vegas yet, but we know it's coming. They already said New Orleans is getting Money in the Bank instead, and they'll get a future Mania at some other point. But then it's like, okay, maybe don't announce it for New Orleans and then go right back to Vegas. I think that's where a lot of the fan frustration comes from. If people just saying it's going to be in the same city back-to-back years, I also understand the frustration there. But the fact you would announce it for New Orleans and then go pivot right back to Vegas the following year after you already said it would be in New Orleans, I can kind of see why people would be pissed off by that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get where people are coming from. At least it's not like they waited like 6 months and they're like, oh, actually, like, it was only like a month or two after they originally announced that they were going to New Orleans that they hit the Rock pivot on it. But,
yeah,
I mean, I guess my thing is like, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I guess you'll never really find out why. Obviously, it's probably, like I said, money reasons, but like, why couldn't you just do New Orleans? If you already announced it, why don't you just do New Orleans next year and then 43 go to Vegas?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I guess that's my thing. So, like, why wouldn't you just I don't know. I guess, like I said, I don't really know. I don't know why you just change it. Maybe, like I said, maybe they wanted some kind of deal with, because it sounds like the one with Money in the Bank, like it's like a whole TKO deal. So it's like UFC will go there and something else. I know they like packaging them now together with some kind of like, they'll host multiple events. So I honestly don't know. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I guess the one positive is that they didn't wait too long to like pivot. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be one thing if it was like, we're talking about this in November and they're like, oh yeah, we're changing it to Vegas now. Like, okay, you announced this 6 months ago. WrestleMania's in 6 months. Like, once of people have already had the stuff booked, like,
Yeah.
it's only been a month or two. Like, yeah, probably some people may have booked stuff already, but like,
It could have
tickets
been
haven't gone on
worse.
sale yet. It's not like it could have been way worse.
Yeah, it could have been way worse. I mean, it's still an issue, and they definitely should not do this in the future. And I had seen that report that, this would have never happened if Vince McMahon was still in charge, which is true. I mean, he would have been too embarrassed to have done that for all the flaws that Vince has that we can, talk about. That is one that he definitely, that is definitely one thing that he definitely would not have done. So I would avoid that for the future, but we'll see how it shakes out next year. A lot of people are pissed off now, but again, I don't know. Just, from all the times that we've talked about, the whole Vegas thing and the time that we spent there, and I've enjoyed it as well the more times I've gone. I personally, like, this is not a popular answer. I was very excited when I read that. I'm like, New Orleans is seemingly great. Again, you went, you've been there before, and I've heard a lot of great things, and I was excited to check it out. And then I saw, well, they'll get a future Mania. I'm excited to check it out then. I'm just excited to go back to Vegas because it's, it's an expensive city and whatnot, but I'm not out there doing the fucking, shows and all this other shit. I'm just going to the M&M store. I might watch you gamble or something, but that's really about it. I'm just kind of there to have a good time and just watch some wrestling. So, and if I could walk to these places, then, I think that's just as cool. So I'm personally not the person to ask, but I do agree, though. I feel like they should probably space it out a bit better for the future. Going back a bit here for a moment before I move on here, Micah had mentioned he hasn't seen any of the Mission Impossible movies either, but he said, fun fact, Tom Cruise showed up to the movie theater downtown last week in my city. That's fucking crazy. Because he had mentioned, could you imagine watching the movie and the actor just walks in and thanks the crowd purchasing a ticket? Pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure that happens in like, I don't know where you live, Mike. I know you live in Texas, but I'm sure that's got to be like a bigger city. Like, he's not showing up in bumfuck nowhere here in Connecticut or something. But, he's
not showing up in Corpus. He's not showing up in Corpus Christi. I know that.
No, there'd be no one in the theater because their crowds are terrible, even I'm sure for movies. It had to have been Dallas or Toronto. Not Toronto. Fucking, I don't know. Some other.
Toronto. Yeah, Toronto, Texas.
What am I thinking of? Arlington? But what starts with a T in Texas?
San Antonio?
San Antonio. That has nothing to do with Toronto, I guess. But I think that's what I was thinking of. Antonio, Toronto. That's probably what I was thinking. I'm off my rocker right now. Yeah, Fernando said it's a middle finger to New Orleans fans. Yeah, he went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. I'm sure that's a blast. I mean, you loved New Orleans when you went, right? I say a few years ago. At this point, it's back in 2014. But you enjoyed your time there, right?
It was good. I mean, I wasn't of age to consume alcohol yet, so it wasn't as. I guess I didn't get the full experience. I mean, I thought it was decent. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't like stay in the area, so like I couldn't give you the full experience. But I mean, if I was comparing the two from a brief just overview, I would probably lean Vegas over New Orleans. But like I wasn't really in the area. But I mean, a ton of people talk about how great like the New Orleans vibes are and like the food and all that stuff. But like when I went, it was strictly like I got there the day of WrestleMania, went to the show and left. But I mean,
yeah,
from what I saw, I would probably lean Vegas over of New Orleans of what I know of.
Yeah, New Orleans, I was told like stuff is closer there too, but it's not Vegas. I'm not saying you should always go to Vegas just because stuff is closer. I mean, you're not going to go there I mean, by that criteria, you just go there for every big show. Which honestly, like I said, I wouldn't complain. Just me personally. But, maybe they'll just reuse the same set and shit. I mean, it's definitely lazy in that respect. But, maybe it ends up being, a success 2 years in a row and people change their tune on it. I mean, I really would not get in the habit of doing that, but at least it does have some positives, I would say, because I feel like it worked out for the most part. But I will say this as well. If they go back to Vegas next year, which it's looking like they will, I talked to you about this a lot with Mania this past year. They got to do less shit. Like this stuff with like the fucking nightclub, it was just stupid. It was a mess. I mean, some of it was a success. Some of it was just completely ridiculous. They're doing They're doing 1 million appearances that people aren't showing up on time for. And I'm not talking about the fans. I'm talking about like Bianca Belair, and it's not her fault. It's because they have her here doing these other things. And everything's close, so there really isn't an excuse. But they have her doing a million other things that she can't make her appearance at World on time, and people are paying $100 to meet her that don't end up getting meet her. It's like, oh, you don't get Bianca, but we'll still get your $100 worth to meet Akira Tozawa instead. Like, no, that's just fucking stupid. Like, you got to avoid that shit for the future. Micah asked, did y'all see Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes' what do you want to talk about interview? I saw some clips from that. Cody Rhodes was saying, oh yeah, they changed the narrative about how we left from AEW. I'm like, bro, if you're not going to fucking talk about it, let's just move on. Like, what are we doing here? Did you see any clips from the podcast they did yesterday or no? Oh, Mr. Marceau, did I lose you or no? Oh, we may have lost Mr. Marceau. Give me a second. Let me make sure that he's still on the line here. I think I still have him. I'll move on. Maybe we'll get him back here on the line in a moment. Let me see. Oh, can you hear me? Mr. Marceau, can you hear me or no? We'll get him back. I think he said it was frozen. Johnny said, did you eat a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich for breakfast? What I did in fucking Vegas, Johnny, is that what you're talking about? I didn't have a bacon, egg, and cheese. I had, they had some good breakfast food there. I went to a place called Einstein for breakfast in Vegas. That was good. Great bagel. Don't think I had a bacon, egg, and cheese, though. Thoughts on the Thekla debut? What is her? I mean, it's TH, but I don't think they pronounced it that way. I don't know her name exactly. The name I just know from what I've heard of her before she came to AEW. I didn't think it came off great. I mean, it was a good way to introduce this new superstar, this new wrestler. I say superstar like it's a fucking WWE wrestler. She went right after Jamie Hayter. The execution of it wasn't ideal, though. They had the lights go out. They missed her attacking Jamie the first time. They were in and out of the ring in like 30 seconds. She looks cool. She's got a unique look. I've heard she's great in the ring. But, I feel like they could have executed the debut better. And I do kind of worry what's next for Jamie Hayter beyond this mini feud, because I feel like she'll lose this. And then where do you go with Thekla? I think that's how you pronounce her. I know it's TH, but I'm not exactly 100% sure on how to pronounce it. Eric asked, what's the number next to your name? That's a community thing. So if you get a lot of comments, I think the more you comment, you become number one on the leaderboard. If you go to the top right of the chat or something, there's like a community thing, and there's like a fucking leaderboard of everyone that's chatted in. And I believe, Eric, you're number one right now. So the more you chat in, you get to become the first chatter of the episode, which is funny. Let's see. Houston. Yeah, Toronto, Texas. Yeah, I was here in San Antonio. That makes sense. I'd love for Houston to host a Mania. That would be cool. I mean, they've hosted Mania before, I believe. I went to Mania there in Arlington a few years ago and had a good time. I went to the Rumble there in San Antonio a few years ago. That was also cool. Maria, what's going on? Saying rise and shine, everyone. She was awesome in Stardom. I heard that as well. I did hear that as well. Micah asked if I was going to All In. No, I'm not going to All In, but it should be a fun show. I would like to go back to Texas for a show at some point. Don't believe it will be All In, though. And Johnny asked, just said, the execution was bad. Why focus on the entrance video and not on the ring during the attack? Yeah, that was a mistake on the production part for the debut of Thekla, whatever her name is. So they definitely made a mistake on that end. They definitely should have executed it better. Mr. Marceau, I think I got you back. What's going on, brother?
I'm back. You hear me?
Making your grand return.
Technical difficulties, guys.
No, you're good. You're good. What was the thing I was going to ask you?
I did not hear any of the Cody Rhodes stuff, the clip of the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, it was. He was just talking about how he left AEW and some shit, and he was just like, they changed it because he can't talk about it because he definitely signed an NDA. Like, it's funny for a podcast that's called "What Do You Want to Talk About?" It's not AEW because they're not talking about that. So, I guarantee you, he left over Brandy Rhodes or something. I'm sure he wanted Brandy. Like, he didn't like the fact that Brandy Rhodes wasn't getting television time. But guess what, brother? Your wife sucks. I'm sorry. In the ring, she's fucking terrible. So, I don't know if that's what the reason was, but I can guarantee you that was a part of it.
Probably.
Give me 1 second here. Maria said, welcome back. Mike has said, I think Cody. Also, did you see the debut? I feel like, I know you don't watch Dynamite, but I feel like it's something you would have seen. Did you see the debut of the new women's wrestler on Dynamite last night that attacked Jamie Hayter, or no?
I did not. I was watching the hockey game.
Oh, right. Definitely go back and check it out at some point. I feel like you'd be wondering, why did they do it this way? Why did they execute it that way? It's not as bad as the Butcher and the Blade debut when they showed up on Dynamite 5 years ago and we were expected to know who they were. It's the Butcher! It's the Blade! It's not as bad as that, but it still was not ideal as far as the execution was concerned. But Micah said, I think Cody will pin John Cena for Money in the Bank and get the rematch at SummerSlam with The Rock as special guest referee. Micah, that would be assuming that Dwayne is showing up for work, which he hasn't in quite a bit, and the only time he did was for that dumbass storyline that did not make any sense. Eric said, I'm not scared for Jamie, only because after they go to her hometown, and I imagine that's going to be her moment. I mean, what would be her moment in All In? If she doesn't have a big match, she lost to Mercedes, she's not facing Toni Storm, so what moment is she getting at All In if she's not challenging for a championship? And Johnny also, yeah, maybe catering. Johnny said, you're going to get a pop out of this one. As far as Brandy's concerned, he said he loved her promo. Who told you tonight was open mic night, bitch? That was the peak of Brandy Rhodes in wrestling. Nothing will ever be better than that. What? Say that again? Alexa still, she still does that impersonation very well. You know, I forgot to mention this before when we were talking about Vegas. She was like, oh, man, I was really excited to go to New Orleans. I'm pissed that they're going back to Vegas. I said, well, guess what? Go buy a ticket to Money in the Bank then.
Whoa! What a meanie.
No, what an asshole, all right? I was like, hey, just go buy a ticket to Money in the Bank 2026. They're making up to him. They're making it up to him that way. They're making it up to them that way. Maria said Cody and Punk need to move on from whatever happened to them in AEW. Yes. Cody, I don't know why he still talks about it. Punk obviously has some, issues with it and whatever. And he's at least funny about it. Cody, he can't talk about it, so what's even the point of bringing it up? And yes, Eric, I remember. He said the funny thing is that Brandy was supposed to face Paige Van Zant right before she left. Don't fucking remind me. That shit was terrible. And she had that her last segment on Dynamite was that shit with Dan Lambert. Oh my God, that was just terrible television. And Micah said Rock's got to come back eventually. The last dream match WWE has for Roman, is WWE. Roman versus Rock. I think it's next year for Vegas. Micah, we've been saying that for 5 years now. I've just given up. I can't get into the idea that we're going to get Rock and Roman. We've been saying that for years. I've just moved on. We'll get it when we don't want it. That's pretty much my mentality at this point. But anyway, Mr. Marceau, you're talking about cities and whatnot. This is worth bringing up. During Saturday Night's main event this past week, they announced the next Saturday Night's main event, which was already rumored for July 12th. And Evolution 2 is indeed happening on July 13th. That same weekend, they're doing NXT Great American Bash also in Atlanta. Does this confirm, not for the NXT show and obviously not for Evolution, this would be Saturday Night's main event. Does this confirm that Goldberg is indeed wrestling and retiring this summer? And will it be against Gunther, probably on Saturday Night's main event?
I hope so.
So most likely it's not going to be at SummerSlam. Does this worry you a little bit, though, with it being in Atlanta? Because he said the match is going to happen in the South. So Atlanta's as close to the South as they're going to get because they're not going to Texas.
I mean, he's from Georgia.
Is he from Georgia?
He went to school there.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
He's UGA. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby. That makes sense. Does that worry you that he might beat Gunther? Uh-oh, I might have lost Mr. Marceau.
I guess you can't. You can hear me?
No,
I guess you can't. I mean, realistically, I guess he could win, but there's no benefit to him winning. So, at least if Gunther beat him, I don't know. I was going to say there's no reason for him to win, but there really isn't. But, yeah, there's no payoff for him actually winning. It's not like he's getting a win back from Gunther or, it's going to put him on the start to a championship run here. I think this is Gunther beats him, LOL, kiss the kids in the front row, and we move on.
Yeah, hopefully that's it. Hopefully Gunther just beats him, and then Goldberg quietly, goes off in a retirement. But I think a big reason as to why he wanted to come back in the first place was probably to win. He's not retired unless he wins his last match, so I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. Hopefully he does win, and we don't have to complain about it. But if he does win, we'll have a lot to talk about here on the show when it happens in a couple of months. But speaking of Saturday Night's main events, they had it this past week. 5 matches. Don't think that was necessary. There were only 4 when we talked about it last Thursday. ended up becoming a 5-match card when they added Vega versus Green for the Women's U.S. title, which was a fine match, but kind of unnecessary. They should have just saved it for SmackDown. But you had John Cena beating R-Truth, so what I expected to happen did not happen, thankfully. You were right. John Cena did win, beat him in 4 minutes, and the match was pretty much wasted time. But, they got it over with, so I'm not saying R-Truth should have won. I was just kind of worried that's what they would have done, but thankfully that did not happen. Damian Priest beat Drew inside of a steel cage. Jey Uso beat Logan Paul to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Cody Rhodes returned. We're getting Cody and Jey Uso versus Logan and John Cena in a tag team match at Money in the Bank. No Travis Scott as of right now. That was the rumor at one point. I think he will still be there, but as of right now, he's not physically involved in the match. Vega beat Green to retain the Women's U.S. title, and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker in the opener beat Punk and Zayn in the tag team match with an assist from the returning Bronson Reed, who was the newest member of this group, and I thought he was a great fit. So, just in a nutshell, Mr. Marceau, your thoughts on the overall show as well as the returns of Reed and Rhodes on Saturday night?
No, I thought the Bronson Reed return was easily the best thing on the show. Mm-hmm. You asked me last week or a couple weeks ago, like, who could I seen? I honestly totally blanked out on him just because he was hurt. He hasn't been around in a while, so I totally forgot about Big Bronson. But when he came out, I was like, holy shit, a great pairing. I mean, it makes sense. I feel like it's great. Got the big heavy Bronson Reed with the big group. I thought that was good. The rest of the show was pretty standard. I mean, like you said, the Vega Green match, we really need that? No, but people would not like that there wasn't any women representation on the show, so kind of had to get that out there. Drew and Damian was fine. I mean, the Cena stuff was realistically a waste of time, but hey, we got it, so now people can just move on from the whole R-Truth thing. And then Jey winning, setting up him and Cody versus Logan and John at Money in the Bank works for me, brother.
Just a lot of commercials, but I'm not really sure what people expected. It's on TV.
Watch it on Peacock. Watch it on Peacock the day after. There was 0 commercials. It was great.
Well, that's the key. When you watch it live, which I think I watched it live on Peacock, you still get commercials, to be fair. Like, it still goes to commercial every other fucking 5 minutes. But when you watch it after the fact, you could probably finish the show in 45 minutes. There's not a whole lot of wrestling on these shows.
Yeah, if you skip the entrances and, the extra stuff, you could probably get it. I don't know. I didn't skip anything. I think, on Peacock, it was an hour and 25, an hour 30. I don't know. It was around that, and then you if from you could clearly tell there was an edit, but you didn't actually watch any commercials.
So basically, I guess you're implying there these shows aren't must see, right?
They aren't must see.
So they're probably just better to watch after the fact.
Yeah, the only thing honestly, I think Bronson Reed joining Rollins and his group was sort of the most must-see thing they've ever done on these shows.
First of all, I agree. I thought
there's been no title changes. There's been nothing that's really over the top intriguing. Everything's pretty predictable. Like I said, I definitely don't think it's must-see. I would not label as that. If you're a wrestling fan and you have nothing to do on a Saturday night, might as well tune it in. But if you had plans and you couldn't make it, hey, you can watch it the next day and you're not really missing much.
It is safe to say at this point, because we are officially 3 shows in, and I've enjoyed these shows for what they're worth. I think the wrestling is fine. I think the 4-match format works a lot better as opposed to squeezing in 5 matches in 2 hours. That just doesn't work when you also have, commercials and entrances and all this other bullshit. Jesse Ventura out there, which is cool to see, but they waste a lot of time doing other stuff, everything but the wrestling. Is it safe to say 3 shows in, 3 installments in, that these are basically just glorified house shows?
They are. I will say one thing. This might just be me. I literally can't stand after they've done 3 of these. They still do the old school vibe of it. Okay, I get it. Used to be an old thing. Maybe one time. Okay, but you can spruce it up a little bit. It's not fucking 1984 again. I don't like the referees wear the old outfits and they do Jesse Ventura and Tessitore just being hosting it. It's just, that's stupid. I don't know. It might be just me just really nitpicking here, but I think they need to buff it up to be okay, I get it used to be an old thing, but now it's a new thing. So it's an old thing that you can revamp it a little bit.
It's interesting you say that. That's probably my favorite parts of these shows is the fact that they're throwback. Yeah, seriously. Like, I mean, that's the part of these. I mean, I'm not even someone who grew up on the original Saturday Night's Main Event. When they were doing Saturday Night's Main Event, when I was watching wrestling, it was fucking Edge versus, Jeff Hardy, like 10, 15 years ago. Like, it wasn't back in the 80s. But I like when they dress up and do the old music and have the old entranceway and shit. It kind of makes it worthwhile. Otherwise, there really is no point in doing them. I think the shows are solid, but if nothing...
Yeah, I mean, I think you can do, you can, spruce it up and be, a little bit more newer, but okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's just more of a preference thing. But, I mean, I think there has yet to come a point where any championships have changed hands on these shows, I think. I don't think any champion... Oh, no,
there hasn't.
Aside from Chelsea winning the U.S. title, which was a given because, obviously, she became the inaugural champion, there hasn't been any title changes. Do you think Cody Rhodes returned too soon? I mean, that was a big moment that closed the show, but should, people have asked this question, and understandably so. He came back too soon. Should they have waited to bring him back?
No, I don't think it's too soon. I mean, if they went right to the rematch, sure, but, we're going to get him and Jay. I mean, I guess that's a June 7th, so it still is a good amount of time until we got SummerSlam. So, I mean, I think you could have maybe waited till after Money in the Bank, but, I mean... I popped. I mean, I guess that's just me, but I think you probably could have waited a little bit longer, especially if you're not going to get the one-on-one match until SummerSlam. I think that's the first week of August, so we got some time here.
Yeah, they did. They wanted the big attraction for Money in the Bank, and obviously the ladder matches sell themselves, obviously, but they were in LA, they wanted a star-studded match. They'll probably have Travis Scott make an appearance, even if he's not actually involved in the match. I get it. I would have waited to bring him back a little bit later on as well, personally, but, I think this is fine. Does this confirm, to your point, that we are getting Cena and Rhodes at SummerSlam? And, I mean, should we? And the answer is probably. I feel like your answer is going to be yes, because this Cena run's been kind of abysmal so far. Does the John Cena Championship experiment end at SummerSlam by Cody Rhodes?
I hope so. I mean, this title reign's been fucking terrible, so I hope so. I mean... We'll see what happens, but I hope it does. I mean, I can't deal with the Cena stuff anymore. At this point, it is what it is. It's not going to get any better at this point, so I'm ready to pull shoot. I was ready to pull shoot, literally. That's why I kind of didn't want to win at Mania, because what we had going to Mania was terrible, and what we've got since has been terrible, so I hope it ends sooner rather than later. It's getting, Moxley territory bad, so I would pull shoot as fast as possible.
I mean, just to clarify, too, Eric asked earlier, why y'all hating on R-Truth? I mean, I'm not hating on R-Truth. I actually like the idea that they did the match, but, I mean, what did we expect here? Did we really expect a 10-minute, 15-minute classic between two guys that are almost in their 50s at this point? It's also R-Truth who's a fucking comedy character. Honestly, I thought that match was exactly what it needed to be with John. I mean, it was, they hit their hits, basically, their best of moves. Truth hits an AA. He comes out wearing Cena's gear, which I thought was funny, which would have meant more if John Cena actually switched up his own fucking gear in the music, but he hasn't, so whatever. And then John Cena beat him decisively in 4 minutes, and they moved on. I mean, I would have rather seen Cena interact with Truth more before the match, as terms of the build-up, but that didn't happen, so I think this match was exactly what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, he's barely on TV. Not that I hate R-Truth, but, this was what it should have been, maybe a couple hope spots, Cena wins, we move on.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't have been anything more than that.
No, I agree. And I will say this as well, back on the Bronson Reed thing here for a moment. I also feel like he was the perfect fit for that group. And, I don't know if they have an official name yet. They were kind of hinting at that it might be The Vision, which, sounds underwhelming. But we had a group named The fucking Shield, which is also kind of dumb on paper. So if it's called The Vision, that's totally fine. But, I think Bronson Reed's a great fit for that group. They didn't really sort of explain why Rollins would want someone. I mean, honestly, why he would want Reed. They kind of talked about that. But why Reed would be willing to join Rollins and fucking answer to him, I'm not really sure, when he was perfectly fine on his own before he got hurt. They didn't really explain that on Monday. But they looked great. And I like the idea to pair them together. I mean, we said theory there for a while, but let's face it, his goose is cooked. His goose has been cooked for a while. I mean,
there's still a chance.
The only list that he's getting added to is potential releases from the company. No list being added to Rollins members of his group. But listen, this is an awesome.
He'll look good on the quarter 3 release sheet.
I hate to say that, but that is. So true. I mean, the best. Honestly, I could have seen him in the Trick Williams role where he goes to TNA, winning the world title there. I always thought that. I always thought that would happen if he got fired. But they could have done that while he was still with the company. But they'd rather just job him out to Sheamus and, have him get cheered and shit, but not actually do anything with him and never actually break them up. But I do think Reed. This is a
slow burn, GSM.
It's only been. Let me check my notes. 15 months. It's not long enough. I'm going to be dead before this guy finally turns babyface. But, listen, I think this is a great spot for Reed, and I love the fact they're picking up where they left off with him. And I feel like he's in a great spot, a prime spot to shine on Raw now after, again, they were doing shit with him before he got hurt, but I was worried that he would be brought back and get lost in the shuffle because a lot has changed since he's been gone. And I think he's in a prime spot to really break out, hopefully. I mean, even more than he already has, I think, in the next couple of months or year or so, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I think it's good for him. He's like, they were pushing him, but he was like kind of getting in like Braun Strowman territory, like winning everything that didn't matter, and then every match that mattered most, he'd lose. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like you push him. He was kind of like Jay. Like he was like, I feel like people were really feeling into him, and then anytime he got a match that mattered, he'd lose.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this is a good role for him for now. Can help him flourish, and obviously he's not the greatest talker, so putting him in a group with Heyman will help. I mean, his moveset is what it is. I love this finisher. He's got a great presence. I feel like Triple H really likes him. I mean, he was big in Triple H's NXT before Vince fucking let him go. And no, I think him in this group is great. I think he's the heavy that I just didn't even think about. Mm-hmm. And I think now that he's with them, he just fits well with them.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect fit. I think him and Breaker could be a really destructive tag team together. I mean, they don't have to go after the tag titles. Both guys are kind of better than that at this point, but it's not like they're doing shit with the tag titles anyway along the waists of the New Day, so they might as well just give him to the duo of Breaker and Reed. I wouldn't complain, but no, I totally agree. He's a guy that Triple H has thankfully gotten right, because for a long time he would lose whenever it mattered most, and now he's in a spot to shine and hopefully really come out of this in a better spot than he was even a year ago. So I love the pairing as well personally. Jesse Ventura, I enjoy him on commentary when he
needs to go.
He needs to go. You're not a fan.
He's just annoying.
Was he not wrong, though, when he said that it was fucking stupid that Damian Priest went through the cage? And Michael Cole tried to explain it, saying, he's humiliating Drew McIntyre by not pinning him, which I can, they kind of made sense, but I can understand his frustration, because back in his day, you wouldn't just walk out of the fucking door.
And times have changed, Jesse. Move on, bro.
Oh, my God. I guess so. He's still on that whole pro-union thing, anti-Hogan. Fuck Hogan.
Hey, he was going to do it, but then Hogan snitched on him.
Hey, listen, he was hating on Hogan before anyone else, so he has my respect forever for that alone. Eric said about the Austin Theory thing, he said, it's only been a year. Triple H booking needs at least a year to 2.5 years. That's so true. He asked also, why do we need a heavy in the group? Isn't Braun already the heavy? He is, but I mean, yeah.
He's the future. He's like the young future.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, Evolution, Triple H wasn't a small guy. I mean, he was the leader. But, you also had Batista and Triple H. They were both kind of heavies of their own group. So, yeah, I think Braun's the future, and Bronson Reed. I mean, he should also be the future, but I think Braun Breaker is more of the future. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to complain. They could have gone with far worse options in that spot. Austin Theory. Because they just wouldn't have booked him properly. I mean, it would have been cool for a week, but Theory in that group would have been the equivalent of Curtis Axel being named the Paul Heyman guy back in 2013. It just wouldn't have made any sense, and people would not have given a shit, I promise you. So, anyway, do you want to get your thoughts real quick as well, Mr. Marceau, on Battleground from this past weekend? If you watched it, they had a couple or at least one championship changing hands. That being Trick Williams becoming the new TNA World Champion, which I know last week you kind of poo-pooed on the idea of, and I get it, but he is the new TNA World Champion, taking that belt from Joe Hendry. They also had a very good match from Stephanie Vaquer and Jordynne Grace over the NXT Women's Championship. Sure as hell thought Grace was taking the title. She did not. I thought Sel Ruka and Kalani Jordan had a great match for the NXT Women's North American title. Overall, a solid show. Really nothing too out of the ordinary, but that ending I thought was cool. And on that same note, in addition to Battleground, this is also on the subject of NXT. On Tuesday, Ethan Page won the NXT North American Championship from Ricky Saints, and JC fucking Jane is the new NXT Women's Champion. beating Stephanie Vaquer, which was very newsworthy and very shocking. So if you caught Battleground, your thoughts on that show, as well as the thoughts on the 2 title changes from Tuesday night?
Yeah, I'll go right to the 2 title changes. I thought Battleground was fine. I kind of skimmed it. I didn't really watch a ton of it, but for what I saw, it was pretty good. I think like the Jane winning was huge. I think we thought Stephanie was going to go to the main roster sooner rather than later. I thought she'd probably lose to Jordynne Grace, but people are saying maybe she's going to get called up as well. So then it wouldn't really make sense to have her as the champion if she's getting called up. JC Jane being like, how do you like me now? Like, you still suck, so it doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, JC Jane is an interesting choice. She's been there for 4 years, so I guess she won like the Legacy Award for longest been there, not having won the championship, I guess. And I'm not saying she's awful. I don't think she sucks, but I don't really think she's on the level of even half of the other women in that division. I would have gone with almost not anyone else, but like you have Kalani Jordan, you have Sol Ruka, who I know is the North American champion, but you have Jada Parker there that you could have put the belt on instead. And you could argue, oh, she's not ready. JC Jane ain't someone to build a brand around. The only way this works is if she drops it relatively quickly. What happened to putting the belt on people that are actually being primed for a call-up, like a Stephanie or a Julia or a Roxanne? JC Jane is not even remotely in that conversation. And, I think she plays her role well, but, I'm not a big fan of, putting the belt on her just to shock people. I actually just lost Mr. Marceau. He just texted me saying, I just lost you. Give me a sec. I'm going to say, let me see. Feel free to jump back. I feel like he had to jump off in a second anyway. Feel free to jump back in if you want. Let's see, have time. All right. But yeah, as far as the 2 title changes are concerned, it definitely made for a newsworthy show on Tuesday. The Ethan Page one, personally, I had no issue with because I thought, they're just switching it up. Ethan Page hasn't held that championship before. I do not think that necessarily means Ricky Starks is getting called up to the main roster just yet. Some people are predicting that. He could be. I guess it's possible, but I feel like it'd be kind of odd to call up Ricky before you call up Ethan when he is equally main roster ready. I feel like I thought Ethan would lose so he could be called up to the main roster. And that's still going to happen at some point. It just may not necessarily happen right now. But the JC Jane one really surprised me just because they have other people that they could do the title change with instead. And I guess my other question coming out of the show was, well, why put the belt on JC when you could have just put it on Jordynne over the weekend? And I guess we now know our answer. Mr. Marceau kind of alluded to it as well, but it sounds like they're doing that because both women are getting called up, both Stephanie and Jordynne Grace. Stephanie reportedly to Raw and Jordynne Grace to SmackDown, which makes sense. You want to separate Julia and Stephanie. Of the 4 women that were called up recently, Roxanne, Julia, and now maybe Stephanie and Jordynne, I would keep those 2 on separate brands because they're probably the biggest stars of the bunch, that being Stephanie and Julia. So that kind of makes sense. But at the same time, though, it also does make me worry because, yeah, Stephanie is main roster ready. We saw her on Raw briefly coming out of WrestleMania. We have not seen Jordynne Grace in the main roster beyond the Royal Rumble, but she was main roster ready from the moment she signed. We were even questioning the fact, why is she even in NXT? She should have been on Raw or SmackDown from the get-go going into WrestleMania. And I wanted to see Jordynne personally on the same show as Rhea Ripley. Obviously, that didn't happen, but, at some point down the road, they could always build to that. It does kind of make me worried, though, because they did just call up Roxanne and Julia. And Roxanne was well overdue for a call-up. Julia getting called up as quickly as she did was surprising, but not necessarily a bad thing, because she had already held the NXT Women's title. Not very long, but, what more could she do in NXT? Stephanie was killing it as the NXT Women's Champion. She's really fucking over, and she's great. Jordynne Grace, again, another one where she's main roster ready. It's not a case of them being called up prematurely because they're not ready for the main roster. To me, it's more of a question of what do you do with them? Julia and Roxanne both just got called up. And yes, both are now in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which is great. I don't foresee either of them winning that match, which is fine. They don't need to win. They're not going to be dead of the water if they don't win Money in the Bank. They just debuted. But prior to that point, though, they were loosely aligned. They lost all of their matches that they were involved in. A tag team match, and Roxanne, I think, lost back-to-back matches to Rhea and Io, one by pinfall, one by DQ. So it's not like they were positioned as big stars then. Roxanne, thankfully, it seems like they found a role for her in the Judgment Day stuff. I don't know if they're turning Dom and Liv babyface. I don't know what the end game is there. That's intriguing. Julia, I hope, will find footing in the Women's United States Championship picture. I like Zelina Vega. I'm glad she even got the title. It was a nice moment for her. We gave her the old golf clap when she won it about a month ago. That was Mr. Marceau's idea. But Julia pinned her in that triple threat last week on SmackDown to qualify for the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I think although Julia's in Money in the Bank, which is great, and she should be, the end game should be her taking that title from Vega. Maybe even as soon as Evolution. I say as soon as. That's coming up in 7 weeks. They could do it even sooner than that. I could sure as hell see them doing it even as early as, June if they wanted to. They could turn around and put the belt on Julia pretty quickly if they wanted to. He doesn't have to hold, or Zelina Vega rather, doesn't have to hold the championship for all that long. But to get back to my original point, I do worry what happens to Jordynne and Stephanie. If Roxanne and Julia are also trying to find their footing, and all 4 women belong on the main stage, it's not as if we're just down women right now. If anything, we have a surplus of amazing talent on both brands right now with the 2, women's divisions. Not that NXT, they need anyone. NXT has plenty of women. NXT will be fine. But, you still have Charlotte. Charlotte's been back since the beginning of the year. You have Tiffany. Jade's back now. She's been back for a few months. Naomi's killing it. I want to see Naomi do well and hopefully get a title shot or a title reign, beating Tiffany maybe. Even if she wins Money in the Bank, that would be excellent and cashes in on Tiffany. Nia is doing well. They found a role for her in the past. Now I'm not so sure. I'm not really sure what you do with Nia now. Chelsea Green is there. Rhea Ripley, we talk about all the time. What do you do with Rhea? Is she getting stale? Which she has been. I think she's still great and she's still very over, but how do you switch up the booking of Rhea without, taking her off television entirely? Maybe it's to feud the woman like Stephanie, but Stephanie's going to be a babyface, so I'm not really sure. But you also still have Becky there. You have Lyra. Now, this is great for, the mid-card belts. The tag titles are just a fucking waste. I mean, who even gives a shit about those, paperweights at this point? But you have a lot of women. I just kind of worry what you do with them at this point moving forward. I do question where you go with them. And hopefully, they figure that out and they find their footing. I think all those women are such amazing talents that they'll be okay. But I am just a little bit skeptical. So we'll give it time. I would maybe not necessarily call them up all at once. Again, I could see Jordynne going to the main roster, but why call up Stephanie right now? Where's the rush? I know you want them to be a part of Evolution, but they could just be a part of Evolution while also in NXT. So I guess time will tell. But before we move on to our Double or Nothing reaction here, just want to read some of the messages that we got a little bit earlier on before we move on. Eric said the reason Joe Hendry lost is because WWE is about to buy out his contract. They're not going to buy out his contract. I mean, his contract will expire and WWE will sign him, but they're not. I doubt that. I mean, what's the rush in signing Joe Hendry? Do they really need Joe Hendry in NXT right now? I suppose they could, but, I don't think that's the case. You make a decent point about Mariah May, though. I feel like this sets up Mariah May as far as her coming into the NXT women's division. It definitely does. I mean, Mariah May, if she is indeed WWE bound, and I can't stress this enough, Mr. Marceau is right. He got that one right. She was, when she was rumored to leave AEW, I said she's not going anywhere. And she still might not leave. I mean, it's still not confirmed she's leaving, but she hasn't been brought back to TV yet, and she's perfectly healthy, and you would think they would have found a storyline for her by now, so I think she might be on her way out. But she was always going to be primed for NXT. I mean, she could be in the main roster tomorrow. She's very good, but I think NXT would really benefit from having a woman like Mariah May on their roster. And yeah, Mariah May is, I mean, they're not calling up Stephanie and Jordynne because Mariah May is coming in. Mariah May, if she is coming in, her contract isn't up until August or September. It might be up before then, but it ain't up tomorrow. But they're calling up Stephanie and Jordynne imminently. So, they have plenty of time for Mariah. If they lost Stephanie and Jordynne just to bring in Mariah, I don't know if that's exactly a fair trade. But she might be in NXT pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Fernando said, JC winning the NXT championship was a terrible decision. Jada Parker and Lola Vice were better options. I've always said I'm not the biggest Lola Vice fan personally. So I'm not honestly super upset that it wasn't Lola Vice. But Jada Parker, again, you can also make the argument, oh, she wasn't ready. But like I said a few minutes ago, at least with Jada Parker, she may not necessarily be ready for the main women's title, but I'm just more interested in her, and I feel like she just has a brighter future and more of an upside than JC. I legitimately would have put the belt on Fallon Henley even instead than JC. They probably just wanted to give JC her moment, like, oh yeah, you've been here long enough and you really have nothing to show for it. And she's won the tag titles, a few times with Gigi Dolan, but that's really about it. I wasn't a big fan of that. We'll see where they go with it. Eric said, I think Ethan loses it to Javon Evans at Worlds Collide to get called up. Yeah, that's possible. They're calling up a lot of people, I guess, in that case. But that match, that four-way that they set up on Tuesday for Worlds Collide looks fucking awesome, though. Johnny said Triple H wants to build up the women's IC and US divisions. Hopefully. They weren't really doing that from the get-go, and they also fired a lot of women that could have been in that division, that being Dakota Kai, Tegan Knox, Indy Hartwell. You had the talent right there, and you let go of a lot of them. So hopefully that's the idea. Eric said Roxanne or Naomi should win Money in the Bank. Yeah, no, I agree. I would be happy with either one. I'm honestly kind of tempted to go with Naomi. Roxanne is 20-something years old. She just got called up. Where's the rush in having her win the briefcase? She could win it another year. Naomi doesn't really have a whole lot of time left. She has said that herself. She might want to become a mom. She's been in the company on and off for 15 fucking years now. I mean, better late than never, honestly. I would give Naomi the briefcase. She's doing great work. She can cash in on Tiffany. To me, it makes all the sense in the world. Johnny said create more women tag teams and have more women join factions. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, you don't just create factions just for the simple sake of having factions. They've had factions. Damage Control largely was decent, but they had great talent in it, but the booking always sucked of Damage Control. The PFC or whatever the fuck that shit was terrible. I'm not a big Fatal Influence fan. It's just Toxic Attraction 2.0. You don't need women's factions or even men's factions simply for the sake of having them. But I would do more with the tag teams for sure. Zelina should keep the title till Worlds Collide. I mean, Worlds Collide is next Saturday, so I don't think she's going to lose the championship before then. Liv's also insanely over. She is. So you gotta factor in whatever plans you have on the Raw Women's division. And it sounds like she has some immediate direction and teasing tension with Dom and doing something with Liv and Roxanne, it sounds like. So, Liv will be fine, I believe. I only care about the tag titles because I love Liv. Well, yeah. Otherwise, I guess there's no real reason to give a shit about those titles. I don't give a shit about them anyway. Maria said, not everyone doesn't need to go to NXT first. Correct, but if they're calling up Stephanie and Jordynne first, why the fuck would you bring in... Why would you bring in Mariah May to SmackDown? Why would you bring in Mariah May to SmackDown when you just called up Jordynne reportedly, Stephanie reportedly, Julia, Roxanne? What would Mariah May do, especially when you have Tiffany, who is basically, I don't want to say the exact same performer. They kind of fill the same role, to be honest with you. She would have to go to Raw. She could feud with Tiffany, but I don't see her feuding with Tiffany when you have Alexa Bliss back and Charlotte's in the mix. I just don't see that happening. Maria, she's not ready. I know I'm talking to you, Maria, but I'm saying Mariah May. I don't know why I said Maria. I think I said Maria because your name is Maria. I'm sorry, I meant to say Mariah. Mariah doesn't need to go to NXT, but she probably should, for the sole reason that they could probably give her a better run there from the get-go. It's like Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. Like when they brought in Ricky Saints, they already re-signed Rusev and Aleister Black. They hired the Lucha Bros. Ricky Saints would have been lost in the shuffle from the get-go on Raw or SmackDown. He could still be lost in the shuffle when he gets called up. But at least he's having a fun run first in NXT. Ethan Page would have been fucked. If they brought him into Raw or SmackDown first, he would have been fucked. He had to go to NXT first. And he's had an awesome run for himself. I would have probably gone with Jasmine before JC. Hot take, Eric said. I wouldn't go that far. I like Jasmine Nix. Fun fact, I actually interviewed her. Mr. Marceau and I both, actually. We actually interviewed her the day that she got hired by WWE. Back in 2022. The interviews here are on the channel. I don't think it's under Jasmine Nix, whatever her real name is. It's here on the channel. We interviewed her the day that she got hired in Nashville over SummerSlam 2022 weekend, and it's cool to see what she's kind of amounted to since then as someone who did not come from the wrestling background. But no, Jasmine is a work in progress. JC is definitely better than Jasmine is, so I would not have put the belt on Jasmine. And then Maria also said JC is not even the leader of the faction she's in. I mean, is there even really a leader? I thought it was kind of JC. I know Fallon won the NXT North American Women's title, but she's also just better than JC. I think Fallon Henley is significantly better. So, I mean, just in an update here, we did lose Mr. Marceau. I think we lost service or something, but he was also well on his way in transit anyway, so he's not coming back. Mr. Marceau left the show. He's gone forever. I kid, but he couldn't make the rest of the show. So Mr. Marceau had to bow out. I appreciate him for his time as always. I'm sure we'll have him back next week, of course. So that's why you're not hearing Mr. Marceau. He's gone for the rest of the show. He had to head on into work anyway, so that he was calling in while in transit. And it was probably time for me to let him go. I was going to actually let him go right after the NXT stuff, right before I talked about Double or Nothing. So that is why Mr. Marceau is not here at the moment. Johnny also said, Athena going to be Ring of Honor Women's Champion for a decade. I mean, at this rate, she probably will be. And then Johnny also said, should Megan Bayne win the TBS title or the women's title this year? I would probably go the TBS title. She already challenged for the main women's title and lost. So I'd probably at this point give her the TBS championship, but I don't see her beating Mercedes for it. If Mercedes is a heel and Megan's a heel, I just don't see that happening. I don't know how you get from point A to point B with Megan Bayne. I don't really know what you do with her next. It seemed like they finished their feud with Harley Cameron and Anna Jay last night in that tag team street fight. So I'm not really sure where you go with them from there. But as we wrap up here, one last thing I do want to bring up before we call it a day, my thoughts on Double or Nothing. I mean, there's a lot of shows where we don't really talk about AEW. We talked about it last week. We did predictions for the pay-per-view, and like I said, Mr. Marceau got every fucking match right, which was amazing for someone who does not watch the product, which we talked about. But I did want to give my quick thoughts on the show from this past week. Just run down the results, and not my thoughts in every single match. My full review of the show I finally put up yesterday. I've just been busy I'm always busy, but especially the last several days. There was so much fucking wrestling this past week, and it took me forever to kind of catch up on it all. My full written review up on WrestleRant.com if you're interested in my full thoughts on the AEW pay-per-view from this past weekend. As far as the show's concerned, though, I thought it was very good. A lot of AEW's pay-per-views most of them are great, especially from an in-ring standpoint. And no, it's not a trite point to bring up, oh, it's too long. Yeah, we say that every time, but it's fucking true. They only get longer. I mean, these shows ending at 12:30 is egregious, but when I have to go back and spend my Memorial Day watching these shows, it's not even as if I watched Battleground instead. I watched both shows on Monday. I didn't have a chance to watch them on Sunday. I prioritize sometimes other stuff in life before I watch wrestling, believe it or not. And I caught up on Double or Nothing on Monday. Very good show. That main event was amazing. Please trim down the length of these shows. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Even people within the company feel that same way. So it's not even just the fans. People say, oh, people complain about too much of a good thing. Are the same people that would not legitimately sit there for 7 hours and watch any sporting event or any wrestling or any fucking movie. I mean, I'm not saying if you like that, you're a nutcase, but you can't complain about other people complaining about it. It's a pretty legit thing to complain about. There is such thing as too much of a good thing. Cut down on the fucking shows. They can be 4 hours. I mean, even 4 hours to me is stupid because at this point, AEW has pay-per-views every month. They had Dynasty a month ago. They had Revolution the month before that. You don't need 4 to 5 hour, 6 hour pay-per-views, 90-minute pre-shows. WWE's pre-shows being 2 hours, 90 minutes, whatever, is dumb as well, but there's no matches on the pre-show, so it doesn't really matter. I don't watch the fucking pre-show. I have to watch the pre-show on AEW and skip through the bullshit because they have to watch the matches. I got to know what's going on. But beyond that, though, I thought the actual show itself was very good, and the wrestling spoke for itself, so I didn't write down the pre-show stuff here, but like I said, Bayne and Ford lost to, who was it? Cameron and Anna Jay, like I said. And they did a 8-man tag team match with Commander. Yeah, I forgot who. It was a tag team with Commander and someone else. I don't remember. In AR Fox. I don't know. I don't remember the match. But they beat, I think, Crew and Roppongi Vice. That was the match in the pre-show. I mean, who gives a shit? But the match was fine. On the rest of the show, Mercedes Moné, or Mercedes Moolah, as we called her earlier, beat Jamie Hayter in the finals of the Women's Owen Hart Cup. FTR beat Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness in a tag team match. Ricochet beat Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match. The Hurt Syndicate retained the AEW World Tag Team titles with against the Sons of Texas with an assist from MJF. Kazuchika Okada beat Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey retained the AEW Continental Championship. Toni Storm retained the AEW Women's World Championship against Mina Shirakawa. Anarchy in the Arena. Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, The Ops, and Willow Nightingale survived against the Death Riders, that being Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir. And the Young Bucks. I think Claudio is also in there. And I don't think Wheeler or Yuta was. Maybe Yuta was. I don't remember. But a lot of people. Mess of a match as always. Not a fan of it, but that's just me. The Don Callis family, Fletcher, Takeshita, and Alexander, that was the other person, beat Paragon in the 6-man tag match. And then Will Ospreay beat Adam Page. And actually, that's what I wrote, but that's actually not what happened. I think it's because my mind told me that was what was going to happen, and it didn't. Adam Page won that match and won the finals of the Men's Owen Hart Cup, therefore earning him the shot at All In coming up in a few months for the AEW World Championship against Jon Moxley. That match was outstanding. I mean, I know we say that about a lot of AEW matches, but that match was really fucking good. They got a ton of time. The near falls were suspenseful. The crowd was into it. High stakes. Either outcome was satisfactory. And the match itself was excellent. That to me is a very, obviously, an early match of the year contender for AEW. And the post-match stuff was cool. I love the segment they had on Wednesday. Adam Page has got to be my favorite AEW performer in the last year. Like, anything he's involved in to me is must-see. There's a lot of great people in AEW. Adam Page, for me right now, has got to be number one. And I'm not even really sure anyone else comes close beyond Will Ospreay in his matches. But, like, the storytelling stuff with Page has been great. And Ospreay's matches, the resume of... We joked about this either on Tuesday or last week here on the show. The resume of matches he's had already in AEW in the last year and a half is disgusting. Like, it is disgustingly great. Literally almost every match this man has had has been a fucking banger. And specifically even the high-profile matches. You can make a top 10 list already and you would still be leaving matches off. The match with Swerve at Forbidden Door. The match with Danielson at Dynasty last year. The match with Ricochet on television. The triple threat at Full Gear with Ricochet and Takeshita. I think he faced Takeshita, or no, Ricochet lost to Takeshita at Full Gear. But he had matches with Kyle Fletcher that were amazing on 3 different pay-per-views. Those were outstanding. The first Takeshita match at Revolution last year. What did he do last month? What did Will Ospreay do on the show last month? I don't even remember. Was he even on the show? I don't remember. But almost every match this man has had has been fucking awesome. And it really is incredible. Like, he's already the best in-ring performer in that company's short history. And I thought they had an amazing match. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with it. It does make me worried, though. I will say this. Adam Page winning the finals of the Men's Owen Hart Cup. It does make me worried that he's going to lose. That Adam Page will lose to Jon Moxley at All In and fail to win the AEW World Championship. They got to be careful with that. They got to be careful. Because I feel like we're going to go down a road where it's Jon Moxley beating Page at All In, which is just terrible. But I feel like that's what's going to happen. And then Moxley beats Ospreay because they're going to be in England for Forbidden Door. Not All In this year, but they're going to be back at, not Wembley, I don't think, but probably somewhere in England for Forbidden Door in August. And then they'll probably have Darby Allin be the one to dethrone Jon Moxley, which honestly, in and of itself, I've talked about this before. You know, I don't really mind that personally. From a storyline standpoint, it makes sense. You know, but we would have then therefore have to wait until September. I know it's almost June, but the fact that it's been this long already, that we've had to deal with this Death Riders bullshit, is just egregious. It just makes no sense. I do not want to wait until September or October for Darby Allin to get back and win the title for Moxley. It's got to be Page or Ospreay. And even honestly, even waiting for Ospreay at this point. If it was going to be Ospreay, then just do it at All In. But Page won the cup. It honestly makes me less convinced that Moxley is walking out of that show still AEW World Champion. I think he's going to walk out still champion. That is my early prediction. I hate to say it. And it's not as if, oh, maybe Paige could win in a rematch. At that point, they're just going to wait until Darby. Because if it was going to be Ospreay, why not just do it at All In? Why do it at Forbidden Door in England? Who cares? That would have been nice because he's from England, but I just get the feeling that Moxley's going to retain. But otherwise, I liked Double or Nothing. It took most of my Monday to rewatch, unfortunately, because I did not watch it on Sunday night when it was live. So, like I said, cut down on the wrong time, and these shows are significantly stronger. I will say it was easily AEW's. They've only had 3 pay-per-views. I don't count Wrestle Dynasty, or the show in January, the co-joint show with New Japan. But even if you do join that, or even if you do count that, this was still the best AEW pay-per-view of the year. I mean, it probably will be beat at some point. The show is very good. I've seen better matches and better shows from this company. But it was better than Dynasty, which I did not think was a great show at all. That main event was terrible. And then Revolution had some amazing matches, but I can't in full honesty and in full transparency, in good faith, put that pay-per-view over this one for that main event alone. I mean, that main event between Copeland and Moxley was so fucking boring and so bad. I cannot honestly, in good faith, put that show over this one. So still, like I said, best show so far for AEW so far in 2025. So we'll read some comments here. If you guys have any comments or questions as we wind down before we call it a day. If you are joining live and haven't already done so, be sure to like the video, drop us the thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already done so as well. I greatly appreciate it. Eric said earlier, maybe Mercedes goes to All In and she loses the TBS title to Jamie and then she beats Tony. So you're suggesting that she pulled double duty, or does she lose the belt before then? What would Jamie even have to do to get a shot in the next 7 weeks? She just fucking lost to Mercedes, cleaned it all in. And then she got beat up by the new debuting star on Wednesday. I don't see that happening. Why would they have Monet lose her first match? At this point, she already won the cup. I mean, if you were going to have her lose, she should have lost on Sunday. She didn't. She won. So at this point, you keep her undefeated. She's not losing that belt. Yeah, could she lose it in a 3-way? Sure, but at this point, what's the point? Did you enjoy the Muhammad Hassan Dark Side of the Ring? Fernando asked. I did. I honestly thought it was one of the better episodes this season. And Alexis, who has seen every episode with me, and she's harder to please. I mean, she's not as much of a diehard wrestling fan as I am. I don't know how many people are, honestly. I'm a fucking nerd with this shit. But even she really liked it. And it was nice to have an episode that wasn't all about death or drugs or alcohol abuse. I mean, it got dark. I mean, it wasn't dark, but it was an embarrassing angle for the company. It wasn't nearly as dark or as depressing, thankfully, honestly, as the other episodes. But that's why I liked it. Sometimes you need a bit of a lighthearted episode. Like people were saying, oh, they should have ended with the Daphne one. The Daphne episode was also excellent. But that episode was fucking sad. And it also hit deeper because it was more recent. Daphne only passed back in 2021. The Hassan thing, first of all, he's still alive. And second of all, the Daphne one did end on a positive note. But the Hassan stuff was a bit more lighthearted, quote unquote. I mean, it still dealt with a sensitive subject, 9/11 and stuff like that. But that was 20 years ago, was that whole storyline. And I thought the way they wrapped up the episode, he's a HR guy now or whatever. He used to be a principal. I thought it was really cool. So I thought the episode was great. I'll talk more about it in a full-on review this weekend here on the channel. If you like the Dark Side of the Ring stuff, like my reviews, first of all, thank you for checking them out. I appreciate the support. Second of all, the review should be up on either Saturday or Sunday. And that will be the last Dark Side of the Ring review of the season. And hopefully they come back for a 7th season with some new topics. I don't know who else they do episodes on at this point. They've done all the episodes I thought they would do, they've done. And you could still do someone like on a Scott Hall and stuff like that. But for the most part, they've done all the major topics. But they'll find things to do them on, I'm sure. I enjoy the show. I've watched every episode and reviewed every episode. It's a good show. Pseudo Talks Wrestle, you're back. You sent in the first comment of the show, really. You sent it in last night after I set up the stream for today. You dropped in the chat and said first comment, or, you're early and now you're late. But thanks for joining. I appreciate the salute there and the comments. Fernando said, I love AEW, but I admit 2 long shows. Yeah, the pay-per-views, there's just no reason for it at this point either. I know the Paragon Don Callis family match, well-wrestled match. I understand it was supposed to be a buffer between Anarchy in the Arena and Owen Hart Cup, the men's Owen Hart Cup. Put another fucking match in there. Put the stretcher match in there. Put FDR and Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. But if you're wondering, or if you're hoping, or I'm sorry, you're thinking to yourself, oh, it would kill the enthusiasm for that match. First of all, it's not even as if the crowd was all that hot for those matches anyway. Specifically, I mean, Ricochet and Mark Briscoe crowd was into that. But FDR, Garcia, McGuinness, match was solid. Way too fucking long. Way too long. You could figure out some other way to kill time than doing some random 6-man that did not need to be on the show to stretch out the card to 4.5 hours. The main card, the actual show, is 6 hours if you include the pre-show. When I put on Triller on Monday and I saw it said 6 hours long, I said, fuck me, man. This is going to be a long day. And I enjoyed the show, but it's way too long. Maria said at least Dynamite's not 3 hours. Maria, I don't know if you saw the news, but next week, this is crazy. And I get it, NBA Finals and shit, but still crazy. Next week, Dynamite's 2 hours and hopefully will never be 3 hours. But next week, and I think the week after, they're doing a 4-hour block. They are advertising it as a 4-hour block of programming because Collision's being preempted by the NBA Finals. So they're just going to put it on. They've done it on Thursdays recently, which was cool. I like the Thursday Collisions. They're out of the way early. Don't have to watch it on Saturday or Sunday. I usually watch it on Sunday. But they're doing it just right after Dynamite. I'm not watching that live. I'll tell you that right now. I will probably... Come next week when we do this show, I may not watch Collision. I may watch Dynamite. I usually try to watch Dynamite before I record on Thursdays. But Collision, most likely I will not have time for. That's just insane. That's an insane block of wrestling for a non-pay-per-view. They're trying to do basically a pay-per-view on TV. Doesn't work for me, brother. Johnny said, do you want Swerve and Will versus Bucks at All In? I mean, what else are they going to do with them? I thought it would be Hangman and Swerve, which in and of itself doesn't really make sense, like realistically, but I know AEW is kind of headed in that direction. That makes more sense with Swerve and Will. I would rather see them in a bigger match on that show. I just do not give a fuck about the Bucks at all in 2025. But it begs the question, what else do you do with them? Swerve and Matt Jackson have pinned each other like 3 or 4 times in the last month or two. I'm already sick of it. I'm already sick of seeing him with the Bucks. I'd rather see Swerve in something else. The Ricochet feud was a lot of fun. Do something like that. You have such a stacked roster. Why is he stuck in tag team matches? But honestly, I think they're going to do that match because what else do you do with Swerve on that show? Maria said Hangman is the second best character in AEW. Who's the first? Is it Will Ospreay? Do not say Jon Moxley. Johnny said Will's nickname should be Mr. Pay-Per-View. It is. It should be. Every pay-per-view match, he knocks it out of the park. I mean, literally every fucking pay-per-view match this man has had, even including when he wasn't even with the company. I mean, he had AEW pay-per-view matches with Chris Jericho at All In a few years ago, Kenny Omega. The Jericho match was good, but not great because of Jericho. But the Omega match was amazing. And then since he's joined the company, again, he's faced Takeshita at Revolution last year. Danielson, probably one of the best, if not the best AEW match of all time at Dynasty last year. Double or Nothing last year. What did he do? He was, he faced Roderick, right? He won the international title from Roderick Strong. That was a very fun match. He faced Swerve at Forbidden Door. How could I forget? He had that amazing match with MJF at All In last year. That was 5. I don't think he was at All Out. I could be wrong. I don't think he wrestled on that show, but he may have, and I just don't remember. Did he face Pac? I think he faced Pac. I think we got Ospreay and Pac, now that I think about it. I totally forgot about that. I think we got Ospreay and Pac, which was a great match. We got him, Ricochet, and Takeshita at Wrestle Dream. Yeah, and then him and Fletcher at Full Gear. Him and Fletcher at Worlds Collide. Him and Okada at Worlds Collide. Don't ask me how I remember all of this. I have no idea. Him and Fletcher at Revolution. I don't know what he did. What did he do last month? I asked that earlier. What did he do? What did they do at Dynasty? I'm going to feel dumb. Dynasty 2025. That's the only match that I can't think of what he did. He was on that show. Oh, he beat Kevin Knight in the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament quarterfinal match. I forgot about that. That was a great match too. And then the match on Sunday with Adam Page, which was outstanding. So Yeah, man. He's put together an incredible resume of matches in AEW alone on pay-per-view. And he's only been here for a little over a year. That is insane. But anyway, let's see what else you guys are saying. Give me a moment here. And then we'll wrap it up after that. Let's see. I think Ospreay is better than Danielson, Eric said. I don't agree with that necessarily, but I could see the argument. Will Ospreay wrestled Kevin Knight last month? Okay, all right, Johnny corrected me. Kevin Knight and Ospreay, that's what it was. Thank you, Johnny. Eric also said we had to wait 4 years to see Roman lose. BS. Yeah, but the Roman run, though, was better creatively, and the Death Riders are just fucking awful. So I would not compare what we're getting right now with Jon Moxley to the Bloodline at all. It is night and day. Maria said, we will riot if Hangman loses it all in. Well, he probably is, so get your pitchforks ready. Fernando said, I don't want Darby winning the title instead of Hangman. That would suck. It's probably just happening. I've just accepted it at this point, so it is what it is. Johnny asked, are you interested in the continuation of Willow and Chris? I'm really not. They've been dragging it on forever. The fact they're even going back to being friends after what Chris did to her in storyline. I know you could say the same thing for Swerve and Adam, but the storytelling there has just been better. There's really been no great development with Chris Statlander and Willow, and the worst part is Chris was a great heel. I thought she was doing great stuff as a heel. She's great regardless, but they went right back to that shit. She attempted to befriend her again. I'm not even kidding. Maybe 3 months after she beat her at All Out. Chris Statlander beat her in September after just destroying this woman in that street fight, that great street fight. And then she turned around and wanted to be your friend again 3 months later. Are you fucking kidding me? So no, I'm not really into it. I think Willow's great. I like Chris Statlander. They're trying, but I don't really care. Is it too soon for a Dark Side of the Ring ranking this year? Not really. It's not. You would need to tell me all the episodes, and I might be able to rank them off the top of my head. The episodes are in the book, though. The season's over, so if you wanted me to rank the episodes this season, I can do it. Ranking the seasons themselves, that would be tough, because it's there's so many episodes in each season. To me, honestly, the best season was probably Season 2. Season 2 had not Brian Pillman, they had Benoit, not Plane Ride from Hell. That was Season 3. But I think Season 2 and 3 were probably the best, if that's what you're asking. How about Just Incredible, Sabu, Perry Saturn for Season 7? Yeah. Sabu, we kind of just got one a little bit. Not really, but they just did an episode on his uncle, the original Sheik. I feel like it's too soon, or what would the episode even be about? Because Sabu he only just passed, first of all. And second of all, if his story is just I guess they did one on Tony Atlas, but what's so dark about Sabu? You know what I mean? That final story and the shit that was said in that GCW interview is kind of dumb. I don't think they need one on him. Perry Saturn, I could totally see. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done him yet. And he's still around. Just Incredible. I could also see that. I'm not sure if he's a big enough name, but they've also gone with people who are completely fucking unknowns. So maybe. I still want to see one on Jeff Hardy at some point. And I know he's been better lately, which is good, but at the same time, it's you could do one on Jeff Hardy and it has a happy ending, at least as of right now. He might have to be okay with them doing it. I don't know if he would want to be on it. But I feel like Jeff Hardy is an obvious topic. 4 hours, good God. Yeah, exactly. That's fucking ridiculous. Pseudo, he said, I want to start watching AEW as well, but it's not that readily available in India. If anyone has an idea, feel free to let me know. I Googled, and even then, I got mixed answers. That's a good question, Pseudo. I'm not sure where you can watch it in India. I am not sure what the hookup is over there. There's websites where you can find the shows. I know Dynamite's on Max. So if you have Max, Pseudo, I would think that Max is available over there. Max has some pay-per-views, and they definitely have Collision and Dynamite. I don't know if you can watch them over there. I'm pretty sure you can. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I would look into that. Maria said Timeless is the best character. Oh, okay. Because you said the second best character. I can understand that. I prefer Hangman over Timeless. Tony Storm, but Timeless is great. Johnny also said for potential topics of Dark Side. Bill Watts, Ashley Massaro, Sid Vicious, Nails, Crush. Yeah, any of those would be interesting. Sid Vicious just passed, so that would be timely. Ashley Massaro, I thought of that one as well. Just a really sad story there at not only even just the end, but you could also talk about the tribute to the troop shit. I mean, she is definitely an option at some point. I don't know. Yeah, that one's a more recent one too. But if they did Daphne and Daphne passed after Ashley, they could do Ashley. It's just more so, would you get the family's permission to do it? I wouldn't do it otherwise. Nails and Crush, if they're interesting enough, then sure. Fernando said, Will Ospreay, pound for pound, the best wrestler in the world. Right now he is, I would certainly say so. Now that Danielson's retired, I think it's safe to say Ospreay is the best in the world. I'm not sure there's much argument about that. And then finally, Johnny said, outside of the title picture, Tony Khan, not great with women's booking and stories. No, he's not. No, he's not. I mean, he's kind of questionable with the women anyway, but the handling of the Tony-Mariah feud was great. And they've handled Mercedes well. She's kind of found her footing. But, I don't know, some of the other stories outside of the title picture, like they kept Megan Bayne busy recently, which was fine, but it's not like it's a story that lit the world on fire. And then you got women like Deonna Purrazzo, who only signed a year and a half ago, not even, out there complaining about not getting TV time. And honestly, she's not wrong. She was joking about appearing in picture during Dynamite on on Twitter yesterday. I think the tweet was still up. When I checked late last night, the tweet was still up. She may have since deleted it. But at least at one point in time, she had tweeted about the fact that she was not on Dynamite. Someone asked her, are you going to be on the show tonight? What a stupid fucking question, by the way. Are you going to be on the show tonight? Why the fuck would she be on the show? They're not advertising her. Why the fuck would she be on the show? But Willow responded to this person and said, not Willow, I'm sorry. Deonna said, yeah, maybe picture in picture. I mean, she's not even high enough on the totem pole in that company currently to appear picture in picture. And Tony does not like any promoter. I mean, WWE would probably do the same thing. Tegan Nox did the same thing, and she got canned a couple months later, so no one's really safe. But honestly, I don't really blame these women or people for speaking out, because if they're not being fucking used, I don't blame them for being frustrated. But Tony Khan certainly does not like that shit, so I would not be shocked if we do not see Deonna Purrazzo again on AEW television. We haven't seen her all that much lately anyway, but they used her to put over Harley Cameron, and then that was it. She was relegated to Ring of Honor after that. When you get relegated to Ring of Honor, it is fucking over. I know Athena's in Ring of Honor, and she's great, but she's also held that championship for the last decade. So, I mean, there's really no upward trajectory for Deonna Purrazzo in Ring of Honor, which is where she spent most of her career before going to WWE anyway. Like, been there, done that. She's a former Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. Like, what the fuck is there for her to accomplish in Ring of Honor in 2025? The answer is nothing. I'm not saying go back to TNA. I'm not even sure Deonna, it sucks. She's kind of stuck. Because honestly, what does Deonna even do? I think AEW was probably her best bet. You can make the argument when she left TNA, which she needed to leave TNA. She didn't overstay her welcome, but she won the tag title. She won the women's world title multiple times. She was a face. She was a heel. She faced everyone. There was nothing left for Deonna to do in TNA. She did everything there was to do in TNA. But then we got to a point where it's like, she's got to move on. And realistically, the only two options are WWE and AEW. Now, she did the WWE thing previously. She was there for a few years and they fired her. She never made it out of developmental. So I'm thinking, I don't really blame her for going to AEW. She hasn't been AEW before. But aside from that initial push when she faced Tony and lost, they really haven't done jack shit with her. She's just been there for the last year. Since the Thunder Rosa feud ended last summer, she has just been there. And I've always been a big Deonna fan since I first saw her in Ring of Honor a decade ago. AEW has failed her. I really genuinely don't think even if she didn't go there and she went to NXT instead, she would have been that much better off. Like, she may have gotten a better push out of the gate as well. I don't know, but long term, she probably was not getting called up anytime soon. She may have just been pulling NXT duty. So, and at this point, she's probably not all that interested in going there at this point anyway. So, I don't know. It's kind of tough to say. It sucks because she's very talented, but I just don't know what she does and where she goes from here. Because again, you can make the case, oh yeah, go to TNA, reinvent herself. She was already there for 5 fucking years. She was there forever. I mean, she had to move on. And AEW was a good fit, but they just aren't really all that interested in using her. Let's put it that way. But on that note, folks, it has been long enough. I've already been here for an extra 30 minutes post Mr. Marceau. And yes, Fernando, I agree. Talent should totally speak up. It might come at the expense of their jobs, though, is the issue. These promoters don't like it when you speak up or speak ill of your spot in the company. You're either like it and shut the fuck up, or you say something and risk being left off TV. See Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross is on the show, but he's not really on the show, let's be honest. And hopefully that changes soon, but I'm not all that optimistic. But like I said, folks, this has been great. Mr. Marceau had to dip out a bit early, abruptly, but we lost this connection. Then he just had to head into work. So I appreciate him as always. He'll be back next week, breaking down all the latest in the world of wrestling. Fun fact, I'll actually be at Disney World next weekend with Alexis and a few of our friends. Nick, who's appeared in these chats before, as well as his wife, Lindsay. So we'll be in Disney World next weekend, as I'll be turning 30 on Tuesday, which is kind of nuts to think about. But I mention that because I should still be able to do a show next Thursday before I head on out. We're flying out Thursday night. I will probably be able to do the show before I fly out. So I won't be around Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But we're not doing streams those days anyway. I'm missing Money in the Bank Live, actually. I'm missing the pay-per-view. I'll be at Hollywood Studios attending the Muppets ride for the final time is the current plan. That's the whole reason why we're going, aside from it being my birthday. And Alexis just celebrated her birthday last week. That's why we're going. No Money in the Bank for me next weekend, at least not until later on or Sunday. But the show should still be regular, day next Thursday here on the channel. Not sure what time. Not sure if it's going to, be early next week, if it's going to be around 11, 12 a.m., p.m., whatever. And not 11 p.m., but like 11 a.m., 12 p.m. around noon Eastern. Not sure yet. But like I always say, just keep notifications on. You'll be notified anytime that the video goes live. And usually I try to schedule the stream the night before so you can kind of get an idea of when the show is going to be up. And you'll also be notified anytime we go live as well. So just a heads up on that front. Johnny said, can't wait for us to talk about Megan and Tekla next year. I said Tekla, but I don't think it's Thekla. That's how you phonetically say the name, but I don't think that's how you pronounce it. But yes, we will see how they're used in a year from now. We will revisit this in a year. And Pseudo said, see you in the next stream. Hopefully I'll join in next time. Take care, y'all. Thank you, Pseudo, for joining us. I appreciate seeing you in the comments, as well as everyone else. Johnny, Fernando, Maria, everyone else that was here a little bit earlier on as well. Thank you so much for watching the show, either live or after the fact. Micah is another one. Always a great time with Mr. Marceau breaking down in the week in wrestling. And like I said, new episodes of the show available every single week. Not only here on the YouTube channel, you get the show first via video. The video version goes up before anything else. But you can also check out the audio podcast version. If you kind of prefer the audio stuff and you'd rather just listen to the show than watch it, or just check it out on Apple and Spotify and stuff like that, it's also available on all your favorite podcast platforms, in addition to WrestleRant.com and WrestleRantRadio.com. One more time, shout out to our channel members here: Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dylan Giacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve One, Daniel Malcolm, RJ Marceau, John Ritlin, Richie, and Average Grunt. If you're interested in becoming a channel member and being shouted out at the beginning and end of every live stream that we do, consider signing up for a channel membership. In the description box down below, you get a little badge next to your name. In the chat, you also get access to certain emojis. You get ad-free and early access to certain videos, the occasional members-only live streams, and all this other sort of stuff. So consider signing up for a WrestleRant All Access Pass, $5 a month membership, in the description box down below. And that's really about it. If you want to just simply support the show by just liking the video and subscribing, all that stuff works as well. And last but certainly not least, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but I do want to mention this. I know there was a deal over the weekend, so I missed the window, but they had a sale going on, a Memorial Day weekend sale, so I missed it. But for next time, Pro Wrestling Tees, we have a store up, ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. Consider purchasing a shirt. We got some great designs up, all designed by Alexis, with some more designs on the way. And that's going to do it, folks. Thank you so much for checking out the show, as always, and for everyone in the comments. Mr. Daniel Malcolm just shouted you out as part of the channel memberships, but we are actually headed out as of like 10 seconds ago, so we just missed you. I mean, at least I'm here to say hello. You're making the post-credit scene. I probably would have stopped the stream and restarted it just to say hi. But yeah, we started early today. We had an early morning stream. Check out the rest of it. Great conversation with Mr. Marceau if you guys missed it. Talking Saturday night's main event, NXT title changes. We were talking Mania, leaving New Orleans for Vegas, which I hope to see you there, Mr. Malcolm, next spring. Same time, same place, same hotel, perhaps, for sure. Before I met up with you at Raw last month. Hope to see you in the same place next year for WrestleMania weekend. But yeah, we talked about that. We talked about a lot of stuff here on the show today. I also gave my my overall review for Double or Nothing this past weekend. So again, guys, thank you so much for checking out the show. Be sure to like the video and subscribe on your way out if you haven't already. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. For Mr. Marceau, we'll catch your ass down the road.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.